Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your
hosts,
Mike.
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. YPN people, I don't know about you, but I love helping out a friend. That's why I want to shout out my friend Brian Little and his podcast, Your Favorite Blockhead. This is the only show that manages to weave together peanuts and MMA into one heck of an amazing podcast. You can find Your Favorite Blockhead wherever your favorite podcasts reside and at yourfavoriteblockhead.com. Do me a huge favor and listen to Brian's show. You'll be entertained and you'll help out a friend. Now, as I said, let's get into today's topic.
You know, what would you say if I said something right now that was like so totally controversial, and let's just say you disagreed with my point? What happens then?
Then I'm going to loudly and angrily disagree with you, and then I'm going to tell you this is only the Torya show now, and that you've been canceled, you giant moose.
Exactly, and that's the problem that we have in society today, is look at the Joe Rogan and Spotify situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's the perfect example, and here's why. If you ever listen to the Joe Rogan show,
I haven't.
He doesn't generally take a side.
I frankly think he's kind of obnoxious.
He
so
kind of presents the information, and if he agrees, you know how discussions go. If there are two sides to the story, A and B, and you agreed with B, you're going to chime in to support B, and people who agree with A are going to chime in to support A. But what he does is he kind of chills out with B for a little while. Oh no, then all of a sudden he's going to chill out with A for a while.
Does what you do and awkwardly argues both sides at the same time. And then he chills out with B for a while. And then when you actually ask him for an answer, he gives you an answer you wouldn't even think of. He's like, D. You know, he's been bouncing between A and B, but his answer is no, I would take D. Mm-hmm.
Totally different. It's just weird. It's weird.
Okay.
And that's why you can't get away with that.
Okay. You know what I think is particularly funny? The fact that these ancient music people decided that he was no longer welcome on Spotify, and they were going to pull their music unless Spotify removed him. And Spotify went, and they looked at their monthly listens, and they looked at Joe Rogan's monthly listens, and they were like, this isn't an airport. There's no need to announce your departure. Bye, Felicia.
See ya.
And I was thinking about it, and no kidding, those people wouldn't have very many monthly listens on Spotify. The people who listen to those artists aren't aggressive Spotify users, is my guess.
Well, exactly. And what you come down to, that's why it's kind of stupid for them to even try this, but they tried it. Those people, you know, however many Joe Rogan listeners there are,
30 to 50 million, apparently.
Think about this. Multiply that by more, because if you're a Joe Rogan listener, you're going to casually talk to me about things that's been said on his show. And then when there's news about Joe Rogan, I'm going to come back to you and be like, hold on a second. Did he really say this? And you're going to say, well, no, that's taken out of context. And you'll explain it to me. Well, what ends up happening is I become a Joe Rogan fan as well, without even ever having listened to his podcast, because I trust you and you like him. So
it's how
proxy, I like him.
It's how you came to love JP Sears with me.
Exactly. 100% true.
JP
a perfect
Sears,
example.
Pre-Trump, JP Sears made fun of vegans and Instagram models. Two things that I think are dumb, which made me laugh all the time.
And I just ignored it because I didn't give a shit.
But I would make you, like, remember I made you watch the cucumber pizza one?
Yes.
And you giggled. And then...
Well, yeah, but it wasn't that it wasn't funny. Hold on now. It wasn't funny. It's just like, nah, who cares?
Then,
why do I care about your stupid pizza? I mean,
then Trump occurred.
Yeah.
And the country lost its ever-loving mind on both sides.
It was insane.
And we've kind of been there since then.
Kind of still been there, yeah.
And JP made this, like, hard turn from making fun of vegans to making fun of both liberals and conservatives equally.
Both sides. That's the part that I love, is that it's both sides.
He's my comedy soulmate.
It's perfect because if you ask me, he's very representative of ours, personal, political viewpoints.
Yes.
I would say he's very representative. I'm not going to commit to we believe exactly what he believes, but I'm going to say that he is very representative of what we believe. And even you and I have slight differences, but I would say we agree if I was going to put, quotes around it. We agree, right? I mean, so I think we agree with JP Sears too.
Even when I don't agree with him, he's mocking something. Well, and I think that it's glorious.
When I don't agree with him, what I really respect him for is that he has, through his artistic expression, he shows you why he believes what he believes.
Right.
So you kind of go, well, you know what? I could see how you would think that. So intellectually speaking, if you can see how someone would think a certain way, you can't get on their ass for believing that just because you don't believe that.
Right.
Because that'd be intellectually dishonest. Yeah. If you can admit that path exists, then screw you that I chose it. It's none of your business.
I feel like as a person, he's more sarcastic than you. Something I didn't know was possible. But
me either, tell you the truth.
You agree with me, don't you?
Yes,
he's got you.
He does. He's got me beat. He says stuff sometimes and I cringe. That tells you something. Yeah. That tells you something. I go, oh.
He's so controversial and he makes fun of both liberals and conservatives so much. Facebook has pretty much removed all of his videos because they didn't like his liberal mocking.
Yeah.
And he's not very popular on Parler either because he mocks the conservatives.
And that's what I want to talk about though. But that kind of brought us, wow, we did a pretty good intro talk there. So we're at the point now where, that's what I want to talk about is you got social media giants taking people off the air for this, that, and the other thing. And like these people screaming about Joe Rogan. That's how I'm tying it back to what we talked about. These people are yelling and screaming about Joe Rogan, take him off the air, get rid of him. And you know what their reason is? He's spreading dangerous misinformation. Now.
Okay, but hold on. Let's just take a little bit of a branch over here for a hot second before you get there. The National Enquirer.
Let's not forget the dangerous misinformation point.
The National Enquirer. Is in every grocery store. It's on every newsstand. It's extremely popular online. Okay? And it's just dog shit. Nothing in there is true. It's all lies. And it's not even lies that, like, The Onion meant to make you laugh.
No, they want you to believe it.
Shit.
They want you to believe their
There's a UFO floating above Uranus. Like, just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why hasn't that been canceled? I feel like that's dangerous misinformation. At least 80% of the time.
Well, but that's my point. They don't ever define what dangerous misinformation it is. And you know why? Because they don't want to have a discourse. They don't want there to be a discussion. They just want to dictate that, bam, this is what we believe. And you got to fall in lockstep behind them, or else if you're not with the majority, you're canceled. My question is, who defines dangerous misinformation? Like, where does it say X is what he said that was dangerous misinformation?
Right. It doesn't. It just says that everything that comes out of his mouth is dangerous.
But you know why? Because he doesn't actually, generally speaking, present an opinion.
Right. He just has opinions on his show. He just brings people come
on the show and lets them express their opinion.
But what happened to the world's ability to critically think?
Well, that's the point.
My parents, and when I was in high school, critical thinking was the thing to do. I remember my high school social studies teacher. And for those of you who aren't Canadian, social studies is like the equivalent of history, geography, and all those political things combined into one in Canada.
Right.
Okay.
But good of you to explain that.
Yeah. Anyway, so he had this thing where there was like a 10-minute news segment on every Sunday night on one specific network. And there was a 10-minute news segment that was very similar on another network. And every weekend our homework was to watch both and take notes on what was said. These are both on Sunday night, both around the same hour of the day, but they come at things from different opinions.
This sounds like a brilliant teacher.
He was. I really like him. Go, Mr. Baxter.
Yeah, anyway. It sounds like a brilliant teacher. Mr. Baxter, I applaud you, sir. I applaud you.
I have something funny to tell you about him later. Anyway. So he would do this, and then you take notes, and then the first thing Monday morning in his class would be a discussion about all of the things seen in those news clips. And how some of the things were the same, which leads you to believe you're getting like legitimate fact.
So he'd make you make a comparison?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty cool because that makes you think on your own.
And sometimes it was like the CNN Fox differential, talking about the same topic but completely opposing sides. Huh. And then we would discuss those in depth, and like you'd get the whole class discussing, and that was our entire 80-minute class on Monday mornings, was just a discussion of the news from the night before, because he wanted to teach us to critically think about things.
Yeah, and that's the part that I say he's brilliant, because a lot of teachers will spoon feed it to you.
But then you're getting their opinion.
And exactly. And that's still teaching, but it's also influencing the outcome quite a bit. And I think that for a healthy society to succeed in the long run, you have to let the ideology of the community go with the ebb and flow like it would normally. You can't keep trying to force it one way or the other.
Right.
And if you did just let it go, I think community as a whole would run better and be smoother. Operationally, just letting it go with the flow. Like if we're all of a sudden as a community, we become super conservative people are the majority. Well, we're going to be doing things on the conservative side for a while until the demographic switches up a little bit. Then you switch your ideology up a little bit.
Do you know?
I think that's only fair.
That comic book Mouse, Maus, and it's a Holocaust comic.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So there are places that want to ban this book from schools. It was required reading when I was in high school. And so they want to ban this book from school.
Why?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know the details. I was too mad when I saw it to get into depth.
We will look into this.
Yeah. But where I'm going with this is then I saw something from Stephen King. Okay? And he's saying that he never cares too much when people ban books from schools. Because what people should do to rebel against that isn't to fight to have the book in the school. They should just go home and read that book so that they now have the information that the mythical they is trying to keep from them.
That, and I would, you know what, personally, as it stands, if it were me, I would find an anonymous way to get that information in PDF form out on the internet so that other people can also read that and learn that.
He says the antidote to people banning books, and the only reason to ban books is because you don't like what's being said in them.
Uh-huh.
So it really fits our topic today.
Yes.
The best way to combat banning books is to go out and read those books so that you know the things. And I thought, it's brilliant. He's a genius. We already knew he was a literary genius.
Yes. But
now he's just a smart dude.
Here's the thing. That even handles my objection at the very, very beginning.
Right.
It handles it perfectly.
So how I was going to relate this is these people who disagree with Joe Rogan should be the ones listening to Joe Rogan so that they know what they need to argue against.
Well, exactly. And that's my point. Like you can't just proclaim him as, spreading dangerous
Banned
misinformation.
Media.
You can't just say that. You have to refute what he's saying.
Right. So why wouldn't you, let's say that you are a Joe Rogan disagreeer.
Okay.
Why wouldn't you spend all of your free podcast listening time catching up on your Joe Rogan so that you know what the opposition is about? Know your enemy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's a reason why I still follow CNN on Facebook and Fox. And sometimes I see the same story back to back and it makes my head hurt. But
I used to use the Drudge Report for my news because it gave a really balanced presentation of the news. Mm-hmm. And then someone bought it and made it really left leaning.
Well, that sucks.
And so my habit is still to go there, but half the time the headlines make me chuckle. Like they're just alarmist. Oh my God, the sky's falling, that kind of, reaction to everything.
I saw a comment on a link shared from the Drudge Report on Facebook the other day, and somebody said that the Onion has more actual fact.
That's true a lot of the time. I mean, that's not false. Even sometimes I'll read, what gets me is you'll read what the link says. And you're like, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that angle. Click. Then you read the article and you're like, wait, didn't it say? And so then you hit back and you read it and you're like, Yeah, it did. That has nothing to do at all with what this article is about. What the hell? And they do it on purpose. They do it to get you because they get you from a reasonable perspective. And then they throw you this sensational article that you, of course, have to read because you're a fan of whatever they're doing. And you read it. And you're a moron and you waste all your time. And that's exactly what we all do. We're dumb.
I get the news. Fox 11 Los Angeles has the most, like, where we are, current event news.
But aren't they kind of right-leaning?
No.
They aren't?
They're California right. How about that?
Okay. I get it.
So, but they give us...
And I guess that would make sense, considering where they're getting their commentators from. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, when there's a helicopter pursuing 6 bad guys in our city, Fox 11 has it. Fox 11 had the car chase that ended up a couple blocks from us.
Okay, well, what does that say about them? What does that say about them? Nothing.
They cover our area. That's why I follow them. Because I get actual news sometimes. But then...
Brad, okay, I got you. I get it now.
They post the dumbest shit, though. Like, they post the most inflammatory headlines I have ever seen in my life. And because they're California right, sometimes their headline is like... riding a beluga whale to the left. And sometimes their headline is like, straight from the depths of Orange County Republican. Oh my God. They're so confusing. Anyway. Like, again, that was kind of off topic.
You know what, though? That's one of the things I really like about not being on Facebook anymore. Is that I don't deal with that anymore.
I send you anything.
The only thing I spend my most time on is Instagram, and even then I do it on my business account, so I don't have much personal interaction with it. But when I have personal interaction with it, it's like 100% just for enjoyment and relaxation. 100%, like nothing else. And I don't take anything I read on there to be serious. I don't. I just chuckle. And, once in a while I'll see something that just is so dumb. Like I have a threshold. When they hit the threshold of dumbness, I have to say something.
Seems reasonable.
And you know what? I don't care what anyone says. Maybe they disagree with whether it's dumb or not. That's okay. That's cool. But see, I get to choose when I make a comment based on how dumb something is by my scale of what dumbness is. That's only way it'll work. I have to use my scale. So when on my scale, it's like a 9, I'm unloading on them. That's just how it's going to be. Defending the fort, man. Sorry. But I don't have to listen that, it's only a 5 because that's what you think. Who cares what you think?
I think where I was trying to go with my whole rant about Fox 11. Sorry.
You interrupted my rant about your rant about Fox 11, but go ahead.
You sounded done. You paused. There was a spacious pause. Right.
Well, I was waiting for you to agree or disagree, and you just kind of stared at me and went on. But okay,
I thought
go
I
ahead,
agreed.
nail it.
Anyway, I follow all the news places, including Fox 11 and their lunacy, because I like to know what the lunatics who are outside of our apartment are thinking. Because
Fair enough.
I protect myself from their crazy. It's how I know when there's vaccine mandates changing, and mask mandates changing, and all of this crap from the last year. It's how I know when there's a scary dude trying to take down the bush at our favorite Pizza Hut.
But can't you get that information in a less toxic location?
No. So the other news sources for our area are the Orange County Register.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. You could use the same exact outlets, but off their Instagram. It's a totally different vibe.
I don't like Instagram. I've never liked Instagram. I never will like Instagram.
Well, it's so much less toxic than Facebook, and that's just my point.
Oh, I don't look at the comment zones anymore. It solves the toxicity when you don't look at the other idiots commenting. Once in a while, it will highlight a comment.
Hold on. I love what you just said. Say it again.
I don't remember what I said.
You said it's better when you don't look at what the other idiots have said.
Right.
So say it.
It's better when you don't look at what the other idiots have said?
Exactly. I love it. That's funny.
Anyway, once in a while, Facebook, the motherfucker that it is, will show me a highlighted comment that sometimes I feel like they've highlighted just to inflame my rage.
And you're probably right.
They know what kind of comments will make me, in turn, interact with the content.
Yeah.
90% of the time, they show me nothing. 10% of the time, it's, wow, all those morons in Canada are so redneck, not even wearing masks, using dogs as a vaccine card.
Talk about button pushed.
Shut up, bro. I broed really hard at that, bro.
It's funny to me. You know why it's funny to me? It takes a hell of a lot to fire you up that much.
There are things that make me salty.
You are like, I'm fairly easygoing about things that I disagree with, as long as someone actually has a reason for their belief. That's not just well, I believe this because that's what my dad believed and my dad's dad and my dad's dad. That's not a reason, people. I'm sorry. That's not a reason. That's a legacy. That's not a reason. And I don't respect legacy. I don't. I think you want to be legacy, fight for your position out here. Don't just sit back and expect it because you're legacy. They're going to stick with you. No, fight for your spot.
Clearly this topic makes him salty.
Well, it does. The topic itself does make me salty. But what we were talking about was how you are usually so like, all right, whatever. If you want to be angry about it, be angry about it. I don't care. I don't need
I just
you.
ha at the things I think are particularly hilarious. Like sorry, anybody who's not an idiot named Karen, but you know, the Karens of the internet.
The Karens of the internet. Wow. I don't think I want to touch that with a 27,000
That's
foot
a whole topic for another day.
pole.
The Karens of the internet.
Wow, man.
Do you think we've successfully made our point that people who just want to cancel other people who disagree with them are dumb, and they're dumb because they don't know their enemy, and that's the art of war?
Well, right. And it's the key. You're basically just saying, I don't like them, so get rid of them. Why? Give me a reason why I should be on your side. Give me that reason, and then I'll consider it.
Do you know how few people would exist if I could say, I don't like you, get rid of yourself?
It's kind of the point, man. Like, you know, society should make these decisions about whether someone's banished to outer Siberia or not. You know, it can't just be some one person who's just like, you know, kapow. That's called a dictator last time I saw.
You know, by sending the people with very differing opinions from quote unquote society away, like you just suggested, you know, you said society should banish things. By banishing those small little sects, you don't know when some crazy redneck is going to go savage.
You're not wrong. And you know why I believe this? It doesn't stop them from existing. What it does is it forces them to
into hiding.
Just exist together.
Right. And then they find each other, and then they create this
big army, and then they kick your 100% of your ass from behind when you don't expect it.
No, you watch a lot of political shows, and both in Designated Survivor and whatever the shooter that you're watching now, both of them had this scary little anti-government subsect. And we know they exist because we've heard about them vaguely mentioned on the news.
We've crossed paths too.
I'm sure. I'm very sure. But anyway, there's these people, and they're like gun-toting, government takeover nut jobs, and society has silenced them, and most people don't even know they exist. How can you be prepared for a gun-toting, government-overthrowing nutbag if you don't know that they exist?
Well, okay. You're making the point in one direction, and I'm making it in another direction, but we're both making the same point. We have to allow society to look at these things and make up its own mind about it. Because by just dictating to society, you're going to believe this, you basically are becoming a dictator. And if you're going to avoid that, you have to let society choose which direction to go.
Yeah.
And they'll always be, the point being about being banished, you know, to outer Siberia or whatnot, was really to make the point you're always going to have a group of people who think and believe like you do. So you're not going to be alone ever. But if you're lucky enough that your group is second biggest, eventually it might overtake the first group. and become the first group. You never know.
If you want to group people on any given issue, and
That's what people do,
but listen,
right?
No. If you want to group people on any given issue, I think the group changes who the peers are, no matter the issue. There are very few people who will be in all the same groups as you. But now we're going way out on a branch.
Well, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong, because there's a bigger bubble.
You and I would be in
society.
different circles sometimes.
Yep.
That would be so long.
That's what could happen. And that's why we don't do that as a society, because, then you're starting to get down to the minutia and trying to make people, do that. You're trying to do almost what Hitler was doing, of the pure society. And that's, bull crap.
Yep.
That's bull crap. And I mean, I personally think that even a quote, pure society would be the most flawed society ever. You know why? Never ever opens its eyes. It's like a blind person. Think about it. How can you have other perspectives other than your own if you're blind?
Right.
You can't. Now, there's nothing wrong with being blind. You're allowed to be blind. No one's going to shame you for being blind.
But just ignore the things you don't like instead of trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, but remember that you only know your perspective. You don't know everyone's perspective. That's interesting that you said that. I really like that you said that.
So should we wrap this all up with my funny story about my social studies teacher?
100% yes.
So, more stories from Torya in high school and the kind of Torya was in high school. Every year, from actually the 7th grade on, my school participated in the 30-hour famine, the fundraiser for World Vision.
Okay. I don't, but okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's a fundraiser for World Vision, and you get people to pledge money and then you don't eat for 30 hours. And to make it easier on everybody who was participating, they would have it would start on Friday morning and it would go to Saturday, and they would have a sleepover in the high school.
Okay.
Anyway, so we had
so that they could keep a close eye on you and make sure you didn't cheat and eat?
No, more so that so everybody would feel supported and together in their hungriness.
It was that the marketing pitch?
Yeah.
I see.
Anyway, so teachers would participate in this too.
Sorry.
There was lots of people, and then we'd sleep over at the high school, and they'd always plan like crazy games. And one year, they planned Mission Impossible across the high school. So like one person's base was in the gymnasium, and on the far other side there was a funky gathering area. And so you had to like work your way through the kind of mazy hallways of that high school.
Okay.
To get the things, or
Right.
And it was always teachers versus students. And so Nolan and I, my good buddy Nolan, is about the same size height-wise as I am. So,
troublemaker friend. Yeah.
We were all in wearing all the black, cruising along the lockers, trying not to be seen. And this dude comes out of nowhere, and it is my high school social studies teacher. And he grabbed Nolan by the shoulders and I don't know, curled him down the hallway, like you throw a curling rock.
All right.
Down the hallway. And he didn't know I was there. And I was in this little alcove thing. Then he heard me out of the corner of his ear. And I got a full elbow to the head.
Ears have corners?
Yeah, they do, right here.
Wow.
Full elbow to the face.
Full elbow to the face?
Yeah.
Did it ring your bell?
It rang my bell.
Wow. See people what teachers were allowed to do back then? Do you see this?
My parents signed a waiver that they were allowed to beat us up.
Yeah.
Apparently they told our parents that it would be a fairly physical game of Mission Impossible, but didn't tell us. It was pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, I got absolutely knocked out by my high school social studies teacher.
There you go. Someone's telling us it's time to go.
All right, Bree. Well, if you must insist, good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.